call the meeting. Thank you. This is Myrna Fuller. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at this time of the July 8th Public Arts Commission. I want to start by just doing the roll call, which I think we pretty much taken care of by visual of who's on. So it looks like I have every commission member with the exception of Ms. Hazel Simpson and Traci Harden and Warren Spirling. Are any of those people on? Okay. So the records will reflect the presence of everyone else unless anyone else comes on board. Before I turn it over to our newest staff member in a new official role, I just want to thank everybody, first of all, for participating and rolling up sleeves for the future in terms of the work that will have to be done for this commission. So I want to go ahead and say a few words about Salonia. Is that how you pronounce it, Lonnie?
Solandia.
Solandia, okay. Because we are really proud to welcome her in her new role as the having oversight of the Arts and Cultural Division. She is a natural born artist. She took an interest in dance at the age of 9 and has performed as a dancer in many capacities. She's trained in ballet, jazz, modern dance, and West African dance. She's danced with professionally, and she also has taken on the role of arts administrator with several organizations, one being the Sandtown Dance Theater and a director of entertainment for independent television show here in Atlanta. She came to us, and I've had the pleasure of working with her with Fulton County as she took on the Arts Center manager position in 2018 of the Southwest Arts Center. So she comes to us with a great background, not only as a practicing artist, but also as an arts administrator. So I'd like to turn the meeting over to Lonnie at this point and say welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Myrna. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with the agenda. Ms. Myrna has already done the roll call. I do see we have some other members on. Mr. Toms is on, and also Mr. Youssef and Ms. Ruth. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to really start with the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look at those minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve. Go ahead, Myrna.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second that motion.
All righty, minutes are approved. I'm just writing.
We need to vote to approve the minutes.
I'm sorry. Can we have a vote to approve the minutes?
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
Nope. Okay. Minutes are approved. We're going to move to the next agenda item, the recent changes to the departments. So if you don't know already, Parks and Recreation has separated from Cultural Affairs. And so we're now 2 separate departments, and we're in the process of separating all responsibilities. Joy Marshall and Chapin Payne are directing Parks and Rec right now, and I am managing all cultural affairs. So those are the recent changes. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I would would like for the persons who we can't see to identify who they are and what their role is with the meeting today, because I'm not sure of who's who.
I'll go ahead and get started, and forgive me, I'm out and about today. I'm Donald Thompson. I'm the Assistant City Manager, and I've been working with Solandia to try to get everything moving smoothly, and really have an interest in this committee, and everything I'm hearing, I've enjoyed it and I'm willing to support it, and want to roll up my sleeves and help out. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Don.
Thank you. Could we have Ruth?
Good afternoon. My name is Ruth Prophet. I am the Legislative Specialist representing District 1, Councilwoman Rao.
Okay, and Youssef? Thank you, Ruth.
I don't think he has audio,
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
but Yusuf is the legislative specialist for District 7.
Thank you. And we have Commissioner Royal.
Councilwoman.
Oh, that's right. I'm so used to Fulton County. So sorry.
Yes, thank you for joining us, Councilwoman.
Thank you. I received the invitation and I'm just listening. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Okay, we appreciate all that you do. Okay, Lonnie.
All right, so if no one has any questions about the recent changes to the department, we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is the purpose and mission of the commission. So has everyone received the ordinance for the Public Arts Commission?
Yes,
And have you had a chance to review it?
yes.
Okay, so there are a couple of things we need to go over in the ordinance. The first thing I want to talk about is the purpose of the Public Art Commission. As it states in the ordinance, the intent and the purpose of the Public Arts Commission is to establish, the intent of the City Council is to invest in public arts and establish the Arts Commission to serve in an advisory capacity to the mayor, city council, and city manager. And everyone clear on what that means for us?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, the next item I wanted to go over is the mayor's appointee. In the ordinance, it says, shall serve as chair. Now, we have already elected a chair and a co-chair. I'm not sure how we handle that moving forward.
If I could interject, Lonnie, originally back when those ordinances were set, I think it was Ty and myself, we were in the meetings and we brought that to question. And they decided to go on and vote because at the time, we were advised that the mayor wasn't going to make an appointee to go ahead and move forward, selecting the chair and the co-chair. Because like you, when we originally got the information, it was noted that the chairperson would be appointed by the mayor. And we're just receiving the appointee now. So as a commission, like you guys said, I'm not sure how we to move forward. Is that something that we're going to disregard and maybe readdress on the, recycle of this all, or what would be the best way to address
So
it?
I think in order to maintain the original intent, that we go ahead, and it's not like we've done a lot of work at this point. My suggestion is to go ahead and move the chair position over to the mayor's appointee, who I'm assuming is Mr. Ward.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that correct? Okay. And I certainly will do all that is needed or necessary to work with Mr. Ward if that's the group's decision.
Okay. So do we need to vote on that, or it's just a transfer because it states in the ordinance that that's what it should be?
I think we vote, but I think we need to hear from Mr. Ward.
Okay.
Since
I
this
agree,
is,
Myrna, because if you're stepping back as chair, to appeal to the ordinance and to have Mr. Ward as the chair, then it would seem only right that I would step back as co-chair and you fill the co-chair place.
Mm,
I mean, just
Well,
to keep it, I mean, you know, because it, again, how do you feel about it, Mr. Ward?
Well, you guys hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, good. Well, I would say, of course, you know, there's on black and white in terms of paper, in terms of what's suggested in terms of ordinance. But from a human standpoint, if you guys have already been in the position, personally, I wouldn't mind more or less kind of moving into the situation, kind of riding coattails, so to speak, and not to disturb the current situation that you guys already have. So I don't know how that will look in terms of policy or things of that nature, but I'm perfectly fine with keeping it the way that it is, and then coming into the body and learning more. You know, understand the process of what we're doing, but more or less kind of working in alliance with you guys and not disturbing what you guys already have. Now, how we can do that, I don't know, but I'm perfectly fine with that. So more or less, I can shadow, in a sense, the chair and the co-chair moving forward. So I don't know what that means in terms of what you guys normally do, but that's where I am in terms of not disrupting it, but come in and then work together in alliance with each other, and then whatever happens in the future, that's fine as well. So I said all that to say that I don't really know how that will look, but I'm okay with that. So maybe you guys can figure that out for us, for me, and then work with me moving forward, and we work kind of hand in hand moving forward.
I think at this point, we would have to defer to Mr. Adams because it is
Okay.
the chair's appointment, and I think he probably will have the last word.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so Corey, are you on?
Go on.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, my recommendation would be if you desire to proceed in the current manner, that a simple letter from the commission, you know, to the mayor and council, you know, would probably be the best course of action. But absent any change in the legislation, you know, by ordinance, Mr. Ward would be the chair upon appointment. And just for the record, he has not been formally appointed yet. That will not occur until the July 27th meeting. So, you know, when and if that happens on July 27th, then by ordinance, he would be the chair.
Okay.
So we'll wait till July 27th and then proceed from there.
That's what I was gonna say, Ty. I think so, yeah, because if it's written the way it is, he's gonna be chair anyway. And then Myrna, would you be co-chair?
Whatever the group desires, and I will still continue, even if I'm not chair or co-chair, I still will continue to meet with the group that we had formed to help continue some of the work that we started
Okay.
with Mr. Ward. Okay.
Okay, so moving forward with the ordinance, the other thing I looked at was it says for the commission quorum, we need 4 commission members to constitute a quorum. I was under the assumption that we needed a majority to have a quorum. And if we're going to have 8 members, which we're supposed to have, the majority would be 5. Am I incorrect in that assumption?
So initially, when we first started, we didn't have, all of the seats weren't appointed.
Okay.
So I believe we were operating on the quorum based on the number of appointees that were in place. So now that we're moving towards, I guess, filling all of the seats, we would need to look at what that looks like. And Mr. Adams, I think we'll need to rely on your recommendation for that as well.
What say you, Corey?
Yes, I'm a little tongue-tied because I'm definitely not the arbiter of decisions, for the commission. But I will offer that traditionally, most boards and commissions will develop bylaws upon formation, and in those bylaws, you dictate. Now, I don't have the ordinance in front of me. You said it states a majority, or does it state a definitive number?
No, it states a definitive number.
So it says 4.
Yes.
Yes. So in that instance, because that is expressly spelled out, you would not need a majority.
Okay.
And that's also, I said, in bylaws, typically you indicate what those what your quorum and your voting action requirements are.
Okay.
Now, having said that, I will say that in the case of if you do have 4 members for voting purposes, that may create a 4-4 instance. So
Right.
this is to think about. But like I said originally, if there's anything within the ordinance that you have concerns or comments about, I would strongly suggest that, as a group, that you send that to the mayor and council, with your recommendations, if any.
So
Okay.
for clarification, we do have 4 if we need to vote on anything today. And secondly, when Mr. Ward is appointed, the mayor's chair technically does not vote. He would break ties.
Yeah.
We're good.
Well, I suggest leaving it as it is written. But I also heard Corey mention that we need to develop bylaws.
Yes, that is in the ordinance as well. Yes.
Okay. So for right now, I say leave it like it is. When we develop bylaws, then if that's something we feel we need to revisit based on the number of people that typically show up, we can do that.
Okay. All right. Are there any other things that we want to talk about in the ordinance? That was all I had. Is there anything else anyone else wants to mention?
Now that we do have more participation, the ordinance does call for us to meet monthly, and it also requires us to report to the council twice a year. So as we develop the calendar going forward, those are 2 things that need to be noted.
Yes, so we need to change the next meeting to an August meeting instead of a September meeting.
Can the ordinance be re-emailed to me? I don't recall getting it.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I put my
Lonnie, just
email
shoot
in the
it out
chat.
to everyone if you don't mind, just
Okay.
as a like a group message, and then we
Yeah.
can add it, Myrna. We'll add it to the Slack so it could be a pinned document for our communications.
Okay.
Okay, so next item on the agenda are the profile sheets for commission members. Did everyone receive a profile sheet?
Yes.
I received one back, and that's from Ty.
Yes.
Yeah, I
And of
got
course,
Ty's back.
Tisha and Lonnie we have.
So Mr. Ward, we will need one on you. And Ms. Roshawn, we will need yours back as well.
So I'm going to be honest. I think that I didn't get a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah, my first meeting, I just recall getting the last meeting saying, join this meeting.
Okay, so we'll catch you up, Ms. Rowe.
Okay.
When you mention a profile sheet, is that a template or is this? I didn't get anything of that.
Yeah, we didn't have you on the list, but it's a mechanism for us to build our small little directory. So we'll be able at a
Okay.
finger's touch to be able to contact each other by phone or by email. It also gives everyone an idea of what art background you might have. Not that it's
Okay.
a must, but just to kind of get a different
Okay.
flavor for who we all are as we move forward, what our strengths and our talents are.
Got it. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
So you guys emailed a sheet out or something, or just
Yes,
on
that
regular
went
paper,
out.
handwritten?
It did. It went out last week, along with some other vital points prior to this meeting, just so the commission could be aware of some very key items. And the profile sheet was attached to that. So if you can drop your email address down in the chat, that way I can have it, Myrna and myself as well as Solandia, all of those that we're leading on that email initiative, we can forward that to you, as well as you, Ms. Roshawn. If you don't, you may not be receiving the correspondences, especially if you were appointed prior to, because we don't have your email address. So that's one of the importance of the profile sheet. I'm sorry.
What's her name again?
Tisha Smith.
I'm gonna send you. Okay, I see it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So yeah, as I was saying thank you, Ms. Roshawn. As I was saying, that's part of initiative to collect the data so we can apprise you guys of things that we have done in our meetings to this point as chair and co-chair, as well as Solandia acquiring the roles that she has taken, which is kind of like the perfect segue to the next meeting item.
Yes, which would be the inventory of current public art and art on loan. So what we've been doing is gathering the list of our current public art that exists in the city. And we've been out to see the condition of it. And the art on loan, I'm still gathering. That's all in City Hall. I haven't really had a chance to go down there and catalog all of it, but it is quite a bit of Haversham down there. So all that still needs to be cataloged. We do have some pictures of our current or our existing public art that we are in the process of uploading to the Google Drive. More of those pictures will be uploaded. But from what we've been able to glean, the public art that currently exists in the city, and I will show you a list since I don't know how to turn my camera around on this thing. I don't know if you guys can really see this. Can you see it?
I can pin you, Lonnie, and make it bigger. There we go.
Okay. So here is the list that we received from Fulton County of what's currently existing in the city and where it is. So the condition of the public art is concerning because it hasn't been tended to in quite some time. So the art that we do have needs to definitely be cleaned, number one, and some of it needs to be redone completely. Moving forward.
Can you just kind of go over the major places where we do have public art? So as people are driving around the city, they can kind of eyeball it themselves.
Yes.
As well as just quickly go over the areas at the top of that sheet. So folks know what we do look for and capture, like size, artists, that kind of thing.
So the first one on the list is at Creel Park, and those are the huge tribal masks, those three huge limestone sculptures that are in the ground at Creel Park. And they are limestone, and we have the dimensions of those. They're supposed to be cleaned annually. And I don't know when the last time they were cleaned. The next location is at Sandtown Park, and that is the Sandtown Park Archway. Now, I spoke with Councilwoman Rowell yesterday, and we went out to Sandtown, or day before yesterday, I'm sorry. And Councilwoman Rowell had informed me that she has had those repainted already. So that has already been redone. That was done last year or year before last, Councilwoman Rao.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So that just needs to be maintained because it's already been redone. It needs to be cleaned. The next location is at Welcome All Park. That public art is located inside the building, and it is around the main area when you walk in Welcome All. So it's in the front. That needs to be cleaned. The next two locations are in the government center. And those are pieces on canvas. Those are not really huge outside pieces. So those just need to be dusted. The next two locations are at the Southwest Art Center. The first one is, well, actually we have three at the Southwest Art Center. One is not on this list. So, no, I take that back. We have four at the Southwest Art Center. One is not on the list. The three that are on the list is the first one that is over the studio building outside. That needs to be repaired and cleaned because some of the tiles are falling off. If you've ever been to Southwest Art Center, when you drive into the campus, the first building you see is our studio building. It has a huge tiled archway over the front doors. That is one piece of public art. Then the second two pieces are in our brick columns, which is a dancer and a drummer in the brick columns as you're coming into the studio building, main doors. That's the second piece. And then the third piece is our mural in our theater, the Louis Del Sart piece. That's in pretty great condition. It might need to be dusted a little, but the first two pieces I mentioned, the tile piece needs to be repaired and cleaned, and the the carved bricks need to be cleaned. However, we are getting the buildings pressure washed before August 1st. So that might take care of some of the cleaning for those pieces. But the pressure washing, we have to be careful with that piece that exists over the front doors because the tiles are already loose. I don't want any more to fall out. The fourth piece that is located at Southwest Art Center is a steel archway on the outside of the building. It's between the theater and the studio building. And that piece definitely needs to be cleaned, but it's not currently on the list. We just have to add it to it. There are two pieces located at Wolf Creek. One is the Ovation piece, which is in the center as you walk into Wolf Creek, in the right in front of the Wolf Den. It's a huge steel piece. I'm not sure if the lighting works on that. I think it might, but I know that piece definitely needs to be cleaned. And then the second public art installation at Wolf Creek are the concrete walls in front of each skybox. So those need to be redone because the paint is fading. It's pretty much gone. You can't really tell what it's supposed to be anymore. So that, it definitely needs to be redone. And then the last piece we identified are the murals on the concrete culverts at Canine Crossing Park. And those are in pretty bad shape. Those need to be redone as well.
And do we now, based on Ty's reporting, also include Fulton Industrial?
Yes.
So there's a sculpture, can't remember his name, coming off the highway, and then there's work at the center. And then there's the piece further down near Thornton Road, before you get to Thornton Road, the big red arches.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one.
Okay.
So we need to add those to the list.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about the sidewalk at Southwest Art Center. When Lisa Tuttle had that installed, the colored sidewalks, I don't know if it's considered art, but it certainly is something we have to think about when we are pressure washing.
Yes, that will be done, but I wouldn't consider that public art, not the
Okay.
sidewalk, yeah. Does anybody else have anything to add to this list? Anything that we have missed in identifying the public art in the city?
Did you mention the piece inside of Welcome All over top of the desk?
Yes.
She did.
Okay,
She
okay.
did.
Yes.
Just wondering, okay.
So we will have pictures of those uploaded into the Google Drive as soon as we
Can I-
compile all the pictures.
Can I clarify one thing? Per Councilwoman Rao, the items referenced at the Aviation Cultural Center are not in the new city limits. They're
No.
not in the, they are not in the part that's been annexed, but the red arch that Ms. Myrna mentioned, that would be included.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that also means the piece off of I-20 is not included either?
I don't
I
think,
I don't believe that is.
Yeah, that was an
Okay.
initiative through, that was made through the CID. Gil, I can't remember his last name, but that was something through the CID. Now, I don't know if it's something that's going to be a part because it's right at the 20 and
Mhm.
falls within the jurisdiction. Gil Prada, yes, thank you, Mr. Adams. So he would probably be the best follow-up to inquire about that sculpture that's right at the corner of 20. Again, I'm not sure if that will fall within the jurisdiction because it was an initiative of an entity outside of the county.
yeah,
Councilwoman Rao has confirmed that that is not in our city limits.
got
Okay,
it.
all
Yeah.
right,
Great.
so just the red archway down closer by, was it Marvin? I can't remember the name of that road that crosses over where that archway is. It's right where the
I think it's
oldest UPS.
Westbrook. I think it's Westbrook. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Okay.
Okay, so good.
Great southwest
fabulous
archway.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Corey.
Adams. Corey, do you have any more information on that piece? Like the dimensions, the artist?
I'm sorry, I do not. I know that there's been some literature on that. So if I come across that, I'll share that as well.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, anything else on public art, existing public art in the city?
The only thing that I want to add is that anything that was acquired by the county, I just think we need to verify with both Fulton County and perhaps the city attorney who owns and who's responsible for some of those things that might kind of be in a gray area.
So are you
just-
speaking of like the Cavershams that may be at the
At the government center.
yeah, the government
Fulton
center?
County was clear that those were art on loan pieces.
Okay. I've spoken with one of the artists that has pieces at City Hall before.
Mhm.
But I think just like we need to establish a meeting with Fulton County and our city manager just to make sure that all of those concerns are addressed.
Mhm.
And lastly, as part of the roundabout that has been installed at Boat Rock and Campbellton Road,
Mhm.
there is going to be a public art piece in the center of it. Charrette was held as well as I think some additional surveys for that piece prior to the forming of the art commissions, So technically by law, all public art needs to be approved by the commission. So I think they're still kind of working out the kinks as to finishing out that project. But once the timeline is solidified for when that could potentially be installed, I think Councilwoman Rao will bring that before the board so that you can see the renderings and bring that up to a vote.
Okay, sounds good.
Is there any way that we have access to those renderings now and who the artist is that's been put in place to?
Artist has come and spoken to the Sandtown Community Association. and to, I think, at the District 1 Town Hall. So I can provide you with the video of his presentation. It's still live on Facebook. I think this was from 2018 maybe. And then Councilwoman Rao can provide the actual renderings.
Thank you.
Just go back.
I
Go ahead, Ms. Myrna.
guess moving forward, we really need to have, some pre-notice about activities like that so that we can be involved.
Well, I think that was one of the projects that was initiated prior to the forming of the council. So since the roundabout was delayed, they're just now kind of getting back to reevaluating what was discussed about that public art piece. So that's why we're bringing it up now to kind of revisit that and get that before everybody.
Okay, great, thank you.
Just to circle back on the pieces in the government.
I'm coming back because I say I don't know for how much.
I don't know who that is. Yeah, just to circle back on the pieces in the government buildings, some of those pieces are by Mr. Ren Dillard. That is a private artist. They don't belong to Fulton County or City of South Fulton.
Yeah. Now, Lonnie, if you could give me a list, I have access to the inventory sheet for Fulton County Public Art on loan. I have a list of all of those items that are being specified as art on loan.
Okay.
I can communicate with Nancy and Alex from the Public Art Department to see what the what that's going to look like, because it's I'm sure at some point a partnership could be formed to where, because the county has a very strong public art inventory, and the county sheriffs being some of them, I mean, we got like almost hundreds of those things. But at any rate, and you're very familiar with it, at any rate, like I agree with you, Ty, a conversation need to be had just to see how we can reallocate that back into the inventory, or is that something that the county or the City of South Fulton is willing to purchase to develop your own public art inventory on going forward. But if that is an art on loan, then like you said, it's art on loan, and it means that there are parameters surrounding art being on loan. Yeah.
And then I can definitely verify exactly which pieces are in.
Okay.
They might have some on the list that we don't have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right.
All right. So moving on to the next agenda item, the public art plan and funding. I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Ty at this point.
All righty. So some of the things that we have been discussing in our past couple meetings and also this meeting really would be kind of under the framework of a public arts plan, particularly, if we need to decommission work that has, come from, what Fulton County has done in the past, how we would bring on new work, if contracts need to be rewritten, if Fulton County has contracts with artists that have art in the city. All of those things need to be reevaluated, and processes need to be developed to determine how to handle those situations. So I just kind of wanted to talk with the body a little bit about what the ordinance says about the public arts plan, going about creating a framework and a methodology, whether we want to start off with a draft of a plan with the help of the steering committee, or if we want to outsource that. So essentially in section 11-8006, item number 10, that's where you'll find the mandate that we are to prepare and recommend for City Council a review of a public art plan and guidelines to carry out the city's art program. And that would include, but not be limited to, the methods for selection of artists or works of art, and for the placement of those works of art. And so as part of public arts, in terms of best practices, typically your framework will include your vision, your objectives, possible sites and locations, all of your contextual information, which would be technical, legal, practical, how you would set up a steering committee to engage in creating the public arts plans, selection of the methodology and the criteria, the roles and responsibilities, how we would go about community and outreach and education, our financial strategy, management, timetables, contracts, copyright ownership. Also, we need to address accessibility and equal opportunity, maintenance plans, and how we want to document and evaluate everything. So along with the framework in terms of best practices, there's usually a best practice as far as methodology. And that goes back to selecting a steering committee to kind of provide feedback on the process and the findings, gathering data from leaders in the arts, government, business, and the community associations via either interviews or surveys, gathering data from community members via surveys, and then using that data to create a draft in accordance with our framework, and then hold a series of charrettes to share a plan draft with community for final input, and then finalizing the plan and beginning the implementation. So if you were part of the Park Steering Committee, then you're familiar with the process that we undertook when we started the Public Arts Master Plan. The Parks Master Plan. So this would be very similar. That particular project was outsourced. We also outsourced assistance with our economic development plan if you participated in that. So a lot of cities outsource these projects. They can be expensive because we have somewhat of a limited budget. 3% of the hotel motel tax in our city goes to public art. We only have the one hotel, but we do have more coming, but we need to decide if we want to undertake the creation of a plan internally, or if we want to explore funding the expense of outsourcing the plan. So I'm recommending that we explore creating a draft internally first, and then as we grow, we can outsource and kind of help the plan to evolve. And I'm happy to put together kind of like a more detailed overview of what that would look like, so that we can all have input into if this is something that we think we can undertake. But Fulton County did a public arts plan. It's very old, but I think we still need to consider pieces of that, particularly the legal aspects of it, as we adopt a new public arts plan for our city. And there's tons of resources out there for putting this plan together. So I think it's totally feasible for us to do it. But what I'm recommending is, we just kind of put together a plan of attack and see if everybody is on board with that, and then make a final decision as to whether we want to do the plan in-house or outsource it. And I'm happy to kind of put that together for everybody so we can see what it looks like, and go from there if that's the commission's desire.
I know I would desire that, Ty. As far as outsourcing, I don't think that's feasible right now.
I don't either.
Yeah, are there resources? We're trying to scrap resources for what we're doing, just what we're doing now, as opposed to outsourcing anything that will, put a big hit to the budget. So I agree with you, Ty, with respect to having that plan and a true foundation of being able to move forward for future projects and proposed projects. So that would be great. Lonnie, I guess put it in Slack, Ty, once you do it. That way Myrna, Shalandia, and myself can have access to it. Mr. Ward, I guess once you have been officially appointed, we can add you to that. And then we can decide how we would mitigate that, Myrna.
That's fine. As a matter of fact, I think I put everybody in Slack.
Okay.
And I think I did, and asked people to join. If I didn't, I will do that so that everybody will have access to the general channel, at least.
Okay.
And if we need to explain it further, I can also send the short tutorial on using Slack.
Okay. So as far as funding, we have a little bit of money that has been recouped from that hotel motel tax. And there is a line item in the Cultural Affairs budget for Public Arts Commission. I am trying to figure out how that money will be deposited into that line. I think it's might be just a matter of moving it. And Mr. Don can correct me if I'm incorrect on that, but we have about $5,000 in that public art commission, wherever it is right now. It's about $5,000.
Over what period of time?
That's a good question, Ms. Myrna.
So the hotel that we have in the city is located off of Oakley Industrial Boulevard. And I believe it was, I could be wrong with these dates, but I believe it was first erected in either 2017 or 2018. There was some confusion about the boundaries. So when it was first opened, it was considered to be City of Fairburn. After the fact, it was determined that it was in the city of South Fulton. So that would make the hotel maybe like 2 or 3 years old. But the ordinance to actually establish that fund as part of the economic development, I guess, plan, I think that came a little bit later. So we can go back and determine what those dates are. But it hasn't been long.
Okay. And I just want to thank you for your report. Very thorough. Appreciate it. And yes, I'm for moving forward as you suggested with an internal stab at it. Is this something we need to take a vote on or what?
I don't think we should vote on it just yet. I would like to put together kind of what it would look like just for details.
Okay.
Submit that to the commission, and then at our next meeting, once everybody's had an opportunity to review that, then I think that would be the appropriate time to vote.
Okay.
All right, does anybody else have any questions or comments about our public art plan moving forward?
Lonnie, that 5K budget, is that just a preliminary or more funding looking to be deposited in that budget line? Okay.
That's just what's been collected so far.
Okay, so I know that there's a public art project perspective for Sandtown. I guess Ty and Myrna, we need to decide what the outline for initiating that, and then go see what the budget funding line is in comparison to those dates as to how we can execute it. Because realistically, we could probably do a smaller project for maybe $5,000, but a mural, by the time you do a mural, get your artist and pay for the paint, there goes your budget. That's not even, there goes your budget. So
can I ask Columbia for some clarification? And I don't know how much, I guess, of the background on this has just been casual conversation or how much has been planning. But well, I know that some conversations have been had with some local artists about particularly about possibly taking on projects at Sandtown. And it was my understanding that they could provide some different schematics in terms of what it would look like based on the size and some other factors. So Solandia, have you been having conversations like that, or is that casual?
No, I haven't had any conversations with any artists about any projects in Sandtown. The only conversations I've had have been with Councilwoman Rao in identifying the spaces that she would like to put the public art on.
Okay, so I think maybe perhaps those conversations were with people in the Parks Department. So all that to be said, there are two spots in Sandtown Park that have been discussed, I guess, with the Parks Department as far as where murals would go. One of them is at the side of the rec center that faces Campbellton Road, and the other is the lower field where they hold their practices. And so as far as funding, call for artists, things of that nature, I think probably we'd be more ready to discuss that at next month's meeting and bring back some specifics. But as far as actually funding the project, I know that there were some other options available in terms of sponsorship and also perhaps the actual district budget. So we can solidify some more of the details and bring that back. But those are two of the major projects that were being discussed for Sandtown, and then door art, some other projects as far as hydrants and utility boxes were raised by Councilwoman Rowell as far as maybe things we can look at doing across the city if council members wanted to participate with their own budgets, allocating a certain amount to some smaller projects like that. So we can discuss that at the next meeting as well.
Okay. Ty, do you know who the artists were that they were in conversation with?
I can provide more information about that in the next meeting.
Okay.
Was there an artist call or were people selected? Because that's
There's
major.
The project has not gone forward. It's not like in motion. It's just basically conversations were being had. So things would still need to be formalized in order to move forward.
Was this like a commitment conversation to the artist? Do you know,
No.
like okay.
Okay. So we can still move forward with a formal plan.
Oh, I agree. I mean, that goes without saying. The only thing that seems like it was a committed public art piece will be the Boat Rock and Campbellton Road prior to the commission being formed. Anything beyond post that will definitely have to be presented to the commission for consideration and take it from a very, like you said, schematic and logistic perspective to make sure that we're operating in the full capacity of a commission with the city in mind as well as constituents. So I think going forward, we would definitely need to put out a call, create a proposal with the guidelines and everything like that. So you're right, Ty, our next meeting will probably be the best meeting to address that. And
Just to be, I guess, just to clarify, there will be public art projects that probably will be initiated that are not necessarily initially under the purview of the board, that don't require necessarily public funding. But if there's a partnership with the city, like for example, say someone is doing something on private property, that's a little bit different. But as far as things that are happening on city property, yes, all of the things that will need to come before the board for approval. But even things on city property, just because we have such a limited budget, won't necessarily be paid for with dollars that have been earmarked for the commission. So for those things, as people are working on relationships with outside parties and things for their district, I think them bringing it before the board will kind of be more for approval, not necessarily to walk with them through all of the phases of the project.
I would imagine incidences like that would be addressed in the document that you're going to be working on, Ty, so that we'll have good framework for deciphering what is what.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all I have for the Sandtown Public Art Projects. I'm gonna open it up now for any other questions, concerns, discussions, anything else anybody wanted to bring up that we didn't cover in this meeting?
I don't have anything.
I do believe we have one person that's joined us that we haven't identified unless you all know who that person is.
Elite Performance. I do not know who that person is.
that might be Miss Traci Harden.
Okay, could Elite Performance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Hazel Simpson.
Ah, hi, Miss Simpson.
Hi.
Hello. I have my picture up because I'm in my office and it's really messy. I didn't want you to see my messy office. Yes.
That's okay. Now we know who you are. We will
Yes.
remember. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so each meeting that I've joined in, I feel like I do not know when things are happening. And I asked this question before, how can I get more involved to feel like I am doing something?
good observation, and we do want everybody involved. I hate working on committees where there are just a couple people who are doing everything, and that doesn't really serve the commission. So I think you're going to be seeing more information pushed your way. Some of the things that we talked about today, such as the spreadsheet on public art, et cetera, et cetera. Ty's working on some things that might be pushed your way before the next meeting. So you bring up a good point, and I thank you for it. We will be involving more people, and that's also, again, going back to the profile as to us being able to see what people have an interest in. We don't want anybody left behind. We don't want anyone sitting back. So thank you for that input. Does that
Sure.
help?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
And if I could interject, Ms. Myrna, for you, Ms. Hazel, also be advised that we have really just been taking steps, strong steps towards identifying what the commission role is. And as Myrna, Shalandia, and myself have knowledge of public artwork and the thematic surrounding it, we've just really been moving in motion towards getting all those key components in place. So don't feel like you've missed out on anything or you're not receiving communications. We're really just getting started. And now that the split has occurred from the Parks and Recreation to a division of cultural arts, cultural affairs, you will probably definitely, I can say, definitely be seeing more correspondence and communications and pulling you in to function in certain roles as a commission member. So
Great, thank you.
you're welcome.
All righty, anything else, anyone?
2 o'clock on the dot. I love it.
All hearts and minds are clear? All right, can we get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
I second the motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
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 The motion was approved. And our next meeting will be August 12th, Thursday, August 12th. That's the second Thursday in August. And I'll see you then.
Okay.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Lonnie. You
week.
guys take care. Thank you so much. Yeah, have a good day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.